Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. This is Rich from WELSHYTECH. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And this time, we've got something new from Thermaltake. This is the TR100 Mini-ITX PC case in blue, and it comes in 4 different colors. Let me introduce you to the Thermaltake TR100 small form factor PC case. The overall dimensions are 294 times 179 by 391 millimeters. The front panel I/O, it does have LED indicators. It has a big power switch reset. Does have audio, which is microphone as well as headphone jack. It does have 2 USB 3.0s and 1 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port. Both side panels do come off with magnets, and both are dust filtered, which do come out like this. You lift it up and pull. The side panels are made of steel. This does only support Mini-ITX motherboards, and it also does support SFX power supplies. And this case does also have 2 mounts for 2.5-inch drives. Top of the case, it's a thumb screw, which is spring loaded. It'll spring out, you pull and lift. This is also dust filtrated with a removable dust filter. And then when it comes to the overall fan support, it does support 120s as well as 140s. Now for radiator support, the top side does support 240 or 280 millimeter radiators. Now as for CPU cooler height, it only supports 68 millimeters for the overall height of your CPU cooler, so I'd suggest doing a AIO. Power supply lengths are only up to 130 millimeters. Now, GPUs, it does only support lengths when it comes to GPUs is 360 millimeters, but it only supports GPU thicknesses up to 70 millimeters in width. Now, let's build a PC, shall we? Okay, so when it comes to the overall thermal testing, now I have also done two different types of tests when it comes to the overall thermals. I have tested the CPU at default, and I have set the GPU at default as well. That means no configuration to fan curve, nothing. That just leaves it default settings. Now, I'm going to start with that. And as for the CPU, it is a Ryzen 9 7900, and at default, it only does draw 90 watts. So, for Cinebench R23, the idles were 35 with a max of 52. That's normalized after the fluid inside the AIO had normalized. So that's fine. Now, the GPU test, I did use Firmark 2. This was set at 4K testing. So, for the GPU power draw during the test was 274 watts. And when it comes to the overall idle temps, now GPU temp was idle at 32 with the GPU hotspot at 28. And then the most important one you got to watch out is the junction temperature with AMD cards. The idles were 46. Now, for the overall CPU temps at max, this was after, obviously, 15 minutes of testing. This was at 48 Celsius max GPU temp. Hotspot was at 69 Celsius, and the GPU junction temperature was 72 Celsius at max. And the room temperature before testing was 11 Celsius, and that did go to 16 Celsius. Now, what we're going to do is enable PBO, which will put a lot more power. This time, 165 watts into the CPU, and the idles for Cinebench R23 were 36 Celsius with a max of 89. Now, the GPU, it drew the exact same power, 274 watts, but this time I did set it at a 50% fan curve, so it stayed at 50%, didn't go above or low. So, for GPU temperatures, the idles were 20 for the GPU temp, hotspot was 25, and the GPU junction was 44 Celsius. Now, for the GPU temperature, max temperature was 49 with a hotspot at 70 with a junction temp at 74. Okay then, so what did you think of that? First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Thermaltake because this was thoroughly enjoyable. The case is very well designed. It's got ample room for cable management. Yeah, sometimes if you've got bigger hands, yeah, you're going to catch your fingers, but that's just one of them things. And yes, I did catch my fingers a couple of times, but other than that, the experience of actually using a Mini-ITX motherboard, using an SFX power supply, and also building in a small form factor case, it was an absolute breeze. It was fantastic, and I really enjoyed going through the process. And quite frankly, I'd love another one for the other foot. Yeah. So look, for the price range, it's around the £100 mark. So, I mean, obviously it comes in 4 different colors, and it's definitely a very good small form factor case. The footprint is very good, and it's quite easy to build in. So, yeah. Look, if you want to buy one, I will be leaving a link down to scan. And as always, make sure you subscribe because I've got 3 gaming monitors. I've got motherboards. I've got more and 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 more stuff coming. So make sure you subscribe. And I hope you guys have a fantastic week and weekend ahead of you. This is Rich for WELSHYTECH. Goodbye.